Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hello everybody, Kieran O'Care, the Laird here, and I'm back with a new very special episode of Laird's Lowdown. And the reason why it's so special is because over this weekend just gone, I hit 20,000 subscribers finally. And I'm so happy to have done so. I was literally just sitting there watching it all day on Friday, waiting for it to tick over, and literally all day it was on 19,999, and it was very annoying. And then just as I was about to log off to go and have some dinner, it hit the 20k, and I was like, yes. So that was really pleasing to see, especially after some of the tough times I've had recently, what with the channel being hacked and having to be away to sort out family issues and etc. And it's great to be at the 20k mark finally. I mean, my old channel that got taken down due to numerous fraudulent copyright strikes was 17.2 when it got taken down, if you're wondering. I know some people have asked, so they always thought it was on a lot more. It wasn't. So I beat that ages ago, what my old channel was. I built it back up to way beyond what the old channel was at. And I'm at 20k, so let's keep going. And, you know, the sky's the limit, as they say. I'm really happy to be there, and I couldn't have done it without you all. I have such a wonderful community behind this channel. I mean, you know who you are. I was going to read out some names, but one, I didn't want to embarrass anyone, and two, I didn't want this video to be too long, and I think it would have been ages if I'd started reading out names of people who have contributed to the channel and, you know, stuff like that. But you know who you all are. There's certain people who literally comment on every single one of my videos, and that's great, and I love it so much. You've provided so much input into this channel. This isn't just my channel, it's your channel. I know that's a cheesy thing to say, but because I make it so interactive, because I run the polls to help decide where I'm going with the channel, you know, for example, the Amazing Facts polls, the greatest of all time polls that I run. So you guys get to decide where I'm going and what I'm doing with the channel, which, you know, I think makes it more community based. And I think that's why I get such amazing interaction from you all. And obviously I must also, very sorry about that, but this little lady decided to turn the camera around, which is very kind of her. So say hello to little Rosie. Very sweet little girl she is. She's my smallest and youngest cat. So let her go up there for a minute. Thanks for your help, Rosie. So yes, so you guys help, you know, decide the channel, and, you know, I couldn't have done it also without one, my patrons. There's quite a lot of you. You know, I thank you all the time on the end of my videos. So thank you all for helping me, especially when I got hacked. There were a few of you who really did go up well beyond the call of duty, so to speak, to help me keep the channel going. You know who you are. Some of you didn't ask to be mentioned for it, so I'm not going to. But I have obviously personally thanked you for it. So especially thank you to those people. And also my YouTube members, because I started doing YouTube memberships quite recently, and those have really been picking up. So thank you to all the YouTube members as well for your help with the channel. I'd just like to let her out of the room now because she's driving me nuts. But yes, so I digress. So there's lots of things, lots of little things I wanted to talk about on the video today. I did say I was going to answer your questions, which I always kind of do when I hit a landmark, like most channels do. And I've had lots of different questions sent in. Some are similar to each other, but I've singled it down. I think I've got 10 of them, which I've put on the screen next to me. So I'm going to read these out and answer them for you. So I've got, first of all, let me just scroll the screen up, because I've got a couple from patrons and YouTube members, so I'll read those out first. So the first one is 8-Bit Guy, who said, what's the weirdest thing that's happened to you as a YouTuber? I really like this question, because he sent it and I couldn't really think what to answer. And then literally like the day after he sent that question, something really weird did happen. There was something else I was going to mention, which is quite funny. But I wasn't sure if it was that good. But then something else happened, so I mentioned both things. So the first weird thing was the one I was originally going to mention, which I didn't think was as good. I was at a family funeral. Oh God, this cat! She's come back in and she's turned my camera again. I was at a family funeral, not my family, but my wife's family. A couple of years ago, and I was chatting to someone who was at the funeral, who's sort of a distant relative of my wife. He's like a second cousin or something like that, and he was talking about loving retro gaming and saying how he'd got one of the C64 mini consoles. He was saying about having got one of those and how it had really got him back into retro gaming, and he'd started watching channels on Facebook and stuff, and then we got talking about what his favourite channels were. It turned out he watched my channel. He didn't realise it was me, and then when he said it, he couldn't believe it. He goes, "Oh my God, that's you!" And I was like, "Yes." I showed him on my phone and stuff, and he's like, "Oh," and that was really cool. And then he proceeded to chat to me about retro gaming for about 2 hours at this wake, which we'd had in like this community cafe. That was like in this sort of, it was like a park, and it had this like community cafe where we all went for the wake. It wasn't that many people, and it was that's where they'd spread the ashes and of my wife's uncle, and yeah, and my wife said there like, "Oh my God," because this guy just wouldn't shut up. He just kept talking. He was so excited. It was really, really funny. Really cool to see. We kind of stayed in contact as well, so shout out to Stuart if you're watching this. That was quite funny. But the other thing that happened that was really incredibly strange was when I ran the poll for the greatest Dreamcast games of all time, which I did quite recently. It was in a group on Facebook, and this guy replied, and what made it even weirder was that the guy used to be a moderator of the group, and he wasn't any longer, but he used to be. So you'd think he'd be quite intelligent, quite in on this stuff, know what's going on, etc. And he just went on this absolutely mad rant, basically saying, I'm not giving you my thoughts. Why are you trying to read my thoughts? And then, so that was his first part of his rant. He thought I was trying to read his thoughts. For some reason, I'd be super interested to scan his brain. And what he thought I was going to do with this information, what I'd asked for was his five favourite Dreamcast games. And he went this massive rant about me trying to read his thoughts and invade his brain. I can only assume he's a bit mentally ill. Because then the second part, he took it even further and said, "You're going to use my thoughts and my ideas to make videos, and I'm not having it. I'm not having you making videos using my ideas." So I was like, whoa, I've asked you for your 5 favourite Dreamcast games. Like I've asked loads of other people. They've all given me their 5 favourite Dreamcast games. And he starts going, "I know what that is you've asked, but I'm not answering your question." And then he went on another mad rant, literally repeating all the same stuff again. I was like, wow, this is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life. And the moderators of the group actually didn't really know how to deal with it either, because it was so strange. And I actually blocked him because he wouldn't stop going on about it. He got so utterly offended that I'd asked him for his 5 favourite Dreamcast games, and then went on these weird tinfoil, hat rants about me trying to scan his brain. Oh my God, it was so bizarre. So bizarre. Anyway, so I hope that answers your question, 8-bit guy. Ben1 Music. Which videos from your archive would you recommend to new subscribers or people who have only seen your most recent videos? Really good question, actually. I really like this question. And this got me thinking a lot about what some of my favourite videos were to make, and the ones that I really enjoyed researching. There was 2 in particular that actually sprung to mind when I started thinking about this. And one of them actually hasn't got that many views, which is a crying shame. But I knew it kind of wouldn't, because I thought it was a bit niche. But sometimes I really enjoy researching the videos, and I really enjoy making them for that reason, because I've put so much research into them. And the one I mentioned that I didn't actually do that well, I mean, I'll link these down below in case anyone wants to see them, but I did a video many years ago on the unreleased Ultravision arcade system console. Looked a bit like a Vectrex with a built-in screen and built-in controllers and stuff. It was supposedly compatible with like the 2600 and the ColecoVision and stuff. It never got released. And I made a video on that, but the video had no conclusion because we didn't know what it was. We didn't know what had happened to it. It was so vague. And then I carried on doing more research. And after the video, with the help of someone else actually, who inadvertently helped me by mentioning something else that triggered my brain, I went, my friend Jason, so shout out to Jason Laird. And then that gave me a new point to go on. And I've basically solved the whole thing of what the Ultravision was, where it came from, who made it, what console it was actually compatible with, what hardware it had. I solved the entire thing, which no one else had done. All the videos and information out there on the web about it is so vague. And finally, by connecting lots of dots, I even found some legal documents online, searching that confirmed, like completely confirmed a lot of my theories. So I managed to basically nail down everything. And then I revisited that video and did it again, basically with a new ending on it. So I basically confirmed everything that had happened and solved the mystery. And actually, I'm going to add another video in here similar to that, because another one where I actually solved the mystery was the Atari Mirai, which is another console that nobody knew anything about it. And that was a pretty easy one. I kind of put two and two together and found that the Atari Mirai was actually another unreleased system which people didn't know about. And it was only when that details of that unreleased system came out, which was the Atari Super XE game system, which is a 16-bit version of the ZEGs, you know, the 8-bit range. They created a 16-bit version which they never released because they were in talks to release the Atari Genesis, the Mega Drive, in America, which fell through. They never came back to it for some reason. But the Super ZEGs was the Mirai, basically, and I worked all this out from looking at the documents and specs and all of that kind of thing. That wasn't particularly hard to work out, but I'm still quite proud of solving another mystery. I like solving mysteries. But the Ultravision one, definitely, that's one that I know I find it really interesting, and I think it's a really interesting story. But the second one, the one that's probably my favourite video that I've ever made, and again, it goes down to the same reason of research, was my Atari Panther video. Because I spent years trying to research the Panther. I was obsessed with the unreleased Atari Panther ever since I saw talk about it in magazines back in the day, and then previews and stuff. And I actually wrote an article for a magazine called, is it called Pixel Nation? I think it was, many years ago on the Panther. And let me just say that pretty much everything I wrote in that article was wrong. Absolutely, completely, utterly wrong. And I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong. And the reason why was because that was that information at the time we thought was correct. And just to give you some insight, is around that time I was writing for Pixel Nation, I was working a lot with and speaking a lot to Kurt Vendel, who's sadly no longer with us, and Marty Goldberg, who wrote the Atari history book. And I used to bat stuff back and forth with them quite a lot. And all the stuff that I wrote about the Panther, they believed was true as well. It was common consensus. It wasn't me making stuff up. It was what we believed was true. And later turned out that most of it wasn't. It was just, it had come from rumours and, you know, people reporting stuff incorrectly, etc. There was some stuff in it that was correct, but a large amount of it was wrong. Like, for example, the fact that a lot of the Jaguar titles, like, it was, the rumour was that, like, Cybermorph and Trevor McFur in the Crescent Galaxy started on the Panther, when they didn't. They were developed for the Jaguar. And I found that out later on from speaking to Fred Gilly, developed Cybermorph. He told me that was Jaguar from day one. And also from speaking to BJ West, who worked on Trevor McFur in the Crescent Galaxy, and again, he told me that was Jaguar from day one. But there's lots of other things I solved. And again, it was one of the things where I carried on researching it. And then I spoke to lots of other people about the Panther. I spoke to Jeff Minter about the Panther, for example. I spoke to Martin Hooley about the Panther from Magitech Design, because they both had Panther dev units. And I spoke to a couple of other people from Magitech Design as well. So I spoke to all these different people and then solved a lot of those mysteries. I actually spoke to Leonard Trammell a little bit as well. He wasn't massively helpful. He's a bit of an argumentative guy, unfortunately, and doesn't seem to want to have decent conversations with people, which is quite frustrating. But I did speak a little bit with him about it, and actually a lot of what he told me was wrong, because so many people gave me a different version of events to what he gave me. I found it hard to believe what he told me. I've had that a few times actually with Leonard, For example, when he claimed that, God, what's the guy's name who did Hover Strike for the Jaguar, who also did Warbirds for the Lynx? Oh God. God, his name escapes me. But basically, that programmer, he said that he barely worked on Hover Strike. He watched the credits on Hover Strike. He listens to the lead programmer and designer. It's mad. But Leonard Trammell claims he had hardly anything to do with it. And when I spoke to him, when I told him that Leonard Trammell said, he was like, "Really? That's unbelievable." And he basically said that Leonard was always trying to interfere on the project and didn't know what he was talking about. In fact, I've got multiple quotes from people who say that Leonard didn't know what he was talking about ever. So I've got loads of quotes from people saying that he wasn't well liked, let's say, by developers. But yeah, that's another story. But yeah, so when I did that Panther video, I finally, when I was happy with all the information that I had on the Panther, I finally made a video about it because I hadn't done one previously. And I think that video explains a lot. And also in that Panther video, I gave both sides. So I gave Leonard's side, which is one reason why I talked a bit about Leonard. So I gave all of Leonard Trammell's side, and I've given all of the side of the developers like Jeff Minter and Martin Hooley, Guido Henkel. I can't think, there's a guy from Handmade Software, Jim Gregory. So I gave all the opinions of these developers who'd worked with the Panther, worked with the dev kits, and I came and said, you decide who's telling the truth here. Is it Leonard or is it all these developers whose stories are exactly the same? And I said, you make your own decision. Actually, in the comments, everyone was saying Leonard's talking nonsense. So yeah, and I like the way I did that video, and I put so much fact and research into that. And I don't think anywhere there's anything on the Panther that's like that, that's as well researched and lays it all out in the way I did and gives the two different sides of the opinion on it and stuff like that. So I'm really proud of my Atari Panther video, and I think that's my favourite video that I've ever made, definitely. I really am still very, very proud of that one. That was a long answer, but yeah. What's my next question? So Sean said, how do I select the games that I put in my books? Yeah, he just bought my new Spectrum book. Another cheap plug for my new Spectrum books. So my books behind me just here. But yeah, he was interested because I had a lot of quite obscure stuff in there, and he was interested how I came across the obscure stuff. And yeah, and basically it's a funny answer because some of my books are remakes of books I did for Andrews UK, and because some of them are remakes and some of them are me finishing books that I meant to release for Andrews UK, but now doing them myself. When I used to have Andrews, the whole thing with them was that we did these A to Z books in volumes, which are the Kindle books. And then I put all of those Kindle books together to make print books. And because I was doing 3 games for each letter of the alphabet in the Kindle books, it meant that quite often I had to come up with obscure stuff for letters like Q, for example. So that led me to play more obscure games, which was a good thing. But then when I realised how well the obscure games were going down, when I did future books, well, since then, I've always tried to include obscure games. So I start to look down the list of the games that I've written down. So I always do it on paper first, always plan all my books out on paper. And I'll start seeing all the games I'm gonna review in that book. And then I think, okay, I've got a lot of popular titles here. I need to get some more obscure ones in. So then I start looking at the Spectrum Computing Database, for example, with the Spectrum book. And I'll look for games that look a bit interesting a lot of the time. And that's basically how I do it. So there's a combination of different things. But my strategy now is literally, I just like to try and review some obscure games and get some in there. I mean, funny enough, I had a review on one of my books once that's basically said, I haven't heard of half the games in there. I just want a book with all the popular titles in or something like that. I thought, why? How are you going to discover hidden gems or games you didn't know about if it's just all the most popular titles that everyone always writes about? No, I don't want to do that. There's plenty of books that just cover the popular titles. Then Brendan Roberts asked me, what's your holy grail item in your collection? I've got a couple of Jaguar games. I've grabbed them here actually, which are holy grails. Number one is my Fight for Life beta, which is only distinguishable by the beta a label on the side there, but I say only things should buy that because that is the Jagfest UK edition, although the box doesn't say. And that Jagfest UK edition, only one was made with that label, special label. I haven't got the cartridge in the box. Annoyingly, I picked the box up and realised that the cartridge isn't in there. I know where the cartridge is, but it's too hard to get to at the moment. It's in a box with some other cartridges from where I took it to an event. But yeah, I've got some pictures and footage of it, so I'll stick that in the corner. But that's the only one of its kind. I won it by winning a Worms tournament at Jagfest. I think it was 2009. I'm pretty sure it was 2009. It could have been 2010. But no, I'm sure it's 2009. But basically, I won the Worms tournament, and I got, that's the prize. So it's the only one of its kind in the world. Collectors have offered me quite a lot of money for it. I got offered $2,000 to sell it once by somebody because they know it's the only one of its kind. It's the label that's unique, as I say, but wasn't interested in selling it at all. And the other Jaguar item I've got that's very good. You can see the signature there. That's John Romero's signature. So I've got Jaguar Doom signed by John Romero, which is pretty cool as well. That's when I used to do Revival, and John Romero came to one of the Revivals and he signed that for me. Other items that I'm really pleased to have in my collection, for example, is my Atari portfolio in its case, which is actually right next to me here. There's my portfolio. I've covered that on the channel before. Give it a full look. And my Vectrex as well. I know it's not massively rare. That's actually right next to it down there. You can see there. I'll just turn the camera a bit. Yeah, so the Vectrex is there. I play that a lot. I keep it in my office. I love my Vectrex. It's such a cool console. It's so unique. And those were both presents my wife got me, actually, the portfolio and the Vectrex. That's how cool my wife is. And they were surprise presents. I didn't ask for them. She just did some research and knew things that I was interested in and wanted and stuff like that. So yeah. I did a whole video with the portfolio because she bought me loads of Terminator 2 stuff to go with it. She themed a whole birthday on Terminator 2. It was really cool. So yeah. Next question. If you had to choose another subject, sorry, I didn't say who it was. John Williams. If you had to choose another subject for a YouTube channel, what would it be? I really like that question as well because I've often thought about that. If I didn't have a retro gaming YouTube channel, what would my YouTube channel be? The answer is travel. I'm really passionate about travel. I love doing traveling. I lived abroad when I was younger for 2.5 years. I lived in Tenerife, and I've been quite a few different countries, not as many as I'd like, but I love going around the UK to different places as well. I always film videos and stuff while I'm there, but I've never thought really about uploading them to YouTube. I kind of do them for myself more than anything, as a kind of memory. But yeah, a travel. I'd love to do travel blog, go to different countries, hotels, flights, all of that stuff. And actually, when I watch YouTube myself, that's mainly the kind of content I watch. I do watch some gaming channels, but I mainly watch travel channels, travel blogs and stuff like that. Really enjoy that content. What books are you planning this year? That was John Williams as well. There's a similar question from someone else, actually, so I'll link that in a minute. But yeah, what books am I planning this year? My next book that I've got coming out, actually, probably print book, would be BBC Micro. So I've got a BBC Micro book. It's about 70% done, 75% done. So it's not a million miles away. So I'm slowly working on that when I get time. So that will be out later this year. I've also got another arcade book coming, which will be slightly different, actually, to the existing one that I've done. So that's coming, definitely. I've started work on that because I always have 2 books going at once so I don't get bored. So there's an arcade book coming. Don't know when that'll be. I just kind of work on these things in my spare time when I have time. So yeah, those 2 definitely. In terms of other books that I might release this year, I don't really know. I might do an Amiga book. A lot of people have asked me to do an Amiga book, so that might be another one I do this year, later this year. And Paul asked me, Paul J asked me, and I've got to scroll the screen down. Am I doing another arcade book? So the answer is yes. Just got to mention that. So I said it'd lead on. And he said, any chance for a print version of your Game Boy book? Yes, because I have a Game Boy Kindle book. and I have a Lynx Kindle book. I do want to turn both of those into print books, but to do so I've got to write a ton more reviews basically and get some developer interviews. So I didn't have enough stuff to turn them into a full-fledged print book, and I thought I'd stick them on Kindle and see how well they did. They've both done really well on Kindle, so I will do print versions at some point. Don't know if it'll be this year or what, but yeah, we'll see. And Ty asked me, why don't I appear on camera more as I appearing on camera? And they said, and Ty actually said they liked me appearing on camera. They replied again, and basically, so I laughed. I said, why do you want to see me on camera? And they said they really like seeing me on camera. I don't know what Ty is, a boy or a girl or anything. I have no idea, but apparently they like seeing me on camera. So hi, Ty. It's funny because actually this week I had someone tell me I had a sexy YouTube voice as well, so that was quite funny as well. I'm not sure I agree with that, but there we go. Yeah, why don't I like appearing on camera more? I don't particularly like appearing on camera is the answer to that. I'm not a very vain person. I don't like how I look. I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm quite overweight because I'm disabled and I walk with a stick most of the time. I struggle to stand, which is why I lean across this bookshelf when I do these videos, and I stop and start them quite a lot. So yeah, I'm very conscious of my appearance because of being disabled and walking weirdly and being autistic as well. I find social situations quite difficult. I get very anxious and don't deal well with social situations. So yeah, that's why. I don't particularly like appearing on camera. I don't mind doing it once I get into it, but I have to really build myself up to do it, basically. So that's why I don't appear on camera more. Mr. Sejanos, I think it's the last one. Which console and microcomputer are the most underrated and why? Great question. That's why I decided to finish with this one. So what do I feel are the most unrelated? So we'll go console first. Console, in fact, I'm going to stick a handheld in there as well. I'll do the treble. So handheld Atari Lynx, no doubt. The Atari Lynx is amazing, and more people need to realise how amazing it is. And it's criminal that it didn't do better back in the day. It was the most powerful handheld on the market for something like 13 years or something. Basically, the only handheld that beat it technically, the first handheld, sorry, to beat it technically, was the Game Boy Advance. So there you go. I believe it was 13 years. So yeah, incredible amount of time for it to be the most powerful handheld. Seriously amazing piece of kit. It could do things that home consoles at the time couldn't do. Has an amazing games library. It's a small games library, but so high in quality. It has so few bad games. Yeah, I mean, I think it has the best high to low ratio of good games to bad games of any console. I don't think there's another system out there that has such a good games ratio. And console. And again, actually, I'm going to go on Atari console again because I think the Jaguar gets far too much hate. It really does. And the problem is that most people haven't played its best games. That's the big issue with the Jaguar. Most people haven't played stuff like Super Burnout, Skyhammer, Hover Strike, especially the CD version, Battlemore, especially the CD games in general, actually Iron Soldier 2, you know, iWar. A lot of people haven't played these games, the better games that came later. Missile Command 3D, I could go on and on and on. Ruin a Pinball, Power Drive Rally, and people think about some of the crappy stuff that came out earlier on, like Checkered Flag, Club Drive, some of the 16-bit ports, Kasumi Ninja, not thinking about the later games that they don't know. You often hear people go, oh, it's only got one good game, Alien vs Predator. And that's always funny, because when they go, really? Because you know Tempest 2000, right? Oh yeah, and Tempest 2000. You go, and what about Rayman? And they go, oh yeah, and Rayman. It hasn't got one good game then, has it? And I love doing that. And then you mention another game, and then they have to confess. They go, Wolfenstein. They go, oh yeah, Wolfenstein as well. Even the games they know, I think people are deliberately harsh about it. They know that it's got more than one good game, and they know that when you start mentioning others that they know are good. And also, even with those 16-bit ports, they get much derided, and often, in most cases, they're the best version of the game. So, you know, for example, Dragon the Bruce Lee story, the Jaguar version is by far the best version. Sensible Soccer, it's got the best console version of Sensible Soccer. So, you know, it's got the best version of Pitfall the Mayan Adventure. So don't hate on those 16-bit ports, because in many cases it's got the best versions of them. You know, Syndicate's got extra stuff on it. Theme Park's got extra stuff on it. So yeah, I think the Jaguar deliberately gets far too much hate. The fact it's a rare console doesn't help, so not many people have owned them and can't afford the games. Though there is a game drive now, so I think that has made things slightly better, but the consoles are still pretty hard to get hold of. So unless they do a reproduction one or a mini or something. And emulation didn't help. You couldn't emulate it well. That's changed now as well, thanks to the Big Pie emulator. So maybe that will change, but I think the Jaguar is massively underrated. I really do. There's a lot wrong with the Jaguar, but there's a lot right about it, and people need to see more of the right, less of the wrong. And computer, in fact, I might do a hat trick of Atari, because I think the Atari 8-bit doesn't get enough appreciation either. And that was a successful computer, especially early on. But it seems to have got forgotten about. I think a lot of people don't realise how powerful the Atari 8-bit is and what an amazing games library it has. You know, when you see stuff like Space Harrier running on the Atari 8-bit, you know, on 1979 hardware basically, and it's doing the scaling and speech and everything, you think, wow, that's incredible. So I think a hat trick of Atari consoles there. I know I'm a big Atari fanboy, but they're the first ones that come to mind actually, in terms of ones that I think are massively underrated. I think Atari get too much hate in general actually these days. Some gamers who seem to look back at them sort of in some strange way that the only thing they did well was the Atari 2600. It's a bit weird really. But there we go. And that's it. And actually the other thing I wanted to quickly mention is, you've probably already seen it. I meant to mention this at the start of the video, but I forgot. New intro. I always planned to do this new intro when I did the when I hit 20,000 subscribers. I was saving it. I didn't want to use it before. I did think about doing it when I came back after getting hacked, and I thought, no, I'm going to save it for 20k. So yeah, new intro, same intro but new intros you've probably already seen because I used it at the beginning of this video. This is the first video to use it. I thought it'd be nice to put the two things together to actually show the game and have the sound of the game. And hopefully, now I've changed the intro to what it is now, where it actually shows the game, I won't have quite so many people saying to me, what does the voice say in your intro? Or what is your intro? Or thinking it's Welcome Gun Runner or something like that. Or Bum Runner, as someone said it was. But yeah, so hopefully a lot of people now will realise that it says Welcome Stun Runner and it's from Stun Runner on the Atari links, and they'll put two and two together a bit quicker, and hopefully I won't get asked that question 83 times a week, which I do at the moment pretty much. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed my 20k subscribers video. It's been a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to get to all your questions and stuff. So thank you for everyone who sent them in, and hopefully I'll be speaking to you again very, very soon when I hit 30k. Thanks for watching as always. Bye bye.